My name's Tim. I'm watching the Providence Bruins take on the Hershey Bears, and you're watching Post to Post.
Hello and welcome to Post, the channel where we discuss all things hockey and all teams. And you were bouncing around in your seat. You were excited. You have a story to not break, but I'm sure that there's a lot of people out there who haven't heard this story.
Haven't heard the story and may never hear the story, but for the fact they watch Post to Post. Alrighty.
Hit me with it.
This story blends my two of my big interests, one being hockey, the other being the law. The North York Hockey Association was recently sued by a hockey dad.
Where's North York?
North of Toronto. It's surrounding the northern part of Toronto. So the North York Hockey Association was sued by a hockey dad on an expedited or urgent basis, because the season's underway, because he was suspended by the league from being at the arena for the rest of the regular season when his son plays hockey.
Okay, and for the record, I do not know this story.
You do not know this story?
I'm learning this as you are.
Okay. And the reason we're even talking about this, or I'd like to talk about it, is just to try to place in some better context the responsibility of family members and fans, especially for minor hockey. When kids are developing,
Totally.
They need to have positive role models. And this guy wasn't suspended for screaming from the stands or yelling at the refs. He didn't even get past the door. Okay.
He was outside the facility?
He was he managed to get in the facility a certain way.
Oh.
Or a certain part of the way, and then
All right.
that was it. So we can actually even use the guy's name. His name is Jordan Milberg. He's the hockey dad.
Because it's a publicly
released. When you go to sue somebody in a court of law, it's a public process. So your name becomes public. Not all the details necessarily that would identify your child or whatever might become public necessarily, but your name is public. You're the adult. You're bringing the lawsuit. And win or lose, your name's up in lights, buddy. So
That's right.
Jordan Milberg is the guy who sued. Okay. Mr. Milberg's son plays for the Vaughan Rangers, a select hockey team that plays in the North York Hockey League. The applicant's son is 11 years old. So I think that's important context. 11. During one of his son's regular season games, the applicant got into a confrontation with an employee at the arena. The Rangers were playing a game at the Everest Ice Arena in Vaughan, Ontario. Admission to the game was $5 per person. The incident began when the cashier could not accept the $100 bill the applicant preferred to pay for tickets for the game. The applicant only had a $100 bill, and the cashier refused to accept it. A sign posted at the cashier's station indicates no $100 bills.
It's pretty cut and dry.
The applicant became upset and confronted the attendant with the inappropriate and vulgar language, calling her...
Okay, we can't say that, but...
not safe for work. He then left the cashier's table and headed inside. The cashier then told him that if he went any further, there would be a $150 fine. At this point, the applicant's wife produced a $20 bill and paid for the tickets.
That was easy.
Yeah. Why didn't they do that before? I don't know. Maybe it's her money and his money and all that. After his wife paid the admission, the applicant went inside and returned shortly thereafter to the cashier's area. The employee with whom the applicant had the confrontation advised she intended to report the incident, and she took the applicant's photo to identify him in her report.
I can see where this is going.
At this point, the applicant directed further profanities at the employee. More specifically, the applicant called her...
Oh, that's even worse. Ugh.
Now,
that's...
The photograph of this guy went to the league. This Jordan Milberg went to the league. They had a meeting with him. They brought him in, and the coaches from the team, the head coach from the team that his son played on, probably supporting the fact that he wants the dad to be there, because this didn't happen out in the game area. So the coach and the dad have a meeting with the North York Hockey Association, and in particular, the gentleman who's running it, Paul Mike is his name. And after a full hour-long meeting in which the dad admitted he said the things he said, he apologized, but he admitted he said the same things he said, the North York Hockey Association suspended him after he candidly admitted to using the language and realizing now that it was inappropriate conduct.
I know that the law that you've been involved with is obviously different than this.
A little bit.
But when you're in court and you're trying to confirm what people said, and you're quoting people,
Yeah.
Do they actually read what he said in court? Like
Yes.
that profanity?
Yeah, that profanity is in the decision.
Who would have to read that? Who would have to say that?
Well, the judge would, or the lawyer probably acting for the Hockey Association, or, and this could have been an agreed upon set of facts, where each side files paperwork that says, here's what we say happened. And on his side, he says, yeah, that happened, that didn't happen, but those three things happened. And the only thing they disagree on is paragraph 3, let's say. Then they only have to talk about paragraph 3. If they agree with everything else, it doesn't even have to come up in court, but if they agreed to it, it is in the record.
I just, like, that's some pretty vulgar stuff.
Very
It's,
vulgar stuff.
you do not call a woman this name.
Ever.
And
Ever.
I just wonder who would have to say that, because some people don't swear at all in their life, and there's nothing wrong with that. If a person didn't swear in their life, and maybe they were really religious or something, but they still had the profession of being a lawyer, would they be forced to say something like that as a quote?
Oh, I think so. If you're a lawyer, you're a member of the bar, and you're going to take on the profession of representing people, you may have to talk about factual situations that you personally wouldn't be comfortable describing as part of your personal life.
Interesting.
But you may have to use that. But if you don't feel comfortable doing that, you're probably not in the right job.
All right. Yeah.
So-
Sorry, off topic.
Oh, that's interesting. Mr. Meitch, the adjudicator, the decision maker here for the league, also made clear that should the respondent ignore the ban, a period of exclusion would be increased to 1 calendar year.
Ooh, a calendar year.
And if the breach was unreported by the team, in other words, if he went to some other arena and the team saw him there, the team was being brought in to be the cops, the team would be fined $500 if it didn't report him breaking the ban. So the team's involved here as well.
Interesting.
So he didn't like that decision. Now, interestingly, Mr. Mike, when he rendered the decision against Jordan Milberg, was only for the regular season. He said, in the playoffs, you're allowed back in. So we're not going to keep you away from your son's playoffs, but we're going to keep you out of the rest of the regular season. It's a compromise, I would say.
Maybe he didn't think the team was going to make the playoffs.
Maybe not. Maybe that's why he's so upset. Anyhow, he did not agree, went to court. He stated his case. He stated a few things. First off, the decision they made, they didn't have the power to make it because they're just a North York Hockey Association. They're not official anything. And the decision itself was not reasonable, and it wasn't fair, even if they did have the power to make it. And the court came back and said they have the power to make that decision. They are an administrative body governing the operation of events and things that are somewhat in the public domain. And as long as they did it fairly, they're allowed to do those kinds of decisions. So this is a word to everybody out there, excuse me, that plays in minor hockey or any other kind of structured hockey. The association that governs it and the rules that surround it must be followed, or they have the power, if they do it properly, to render sanctions against you.
Gotta listen.
Gotta listen to do what you're told. Gotta be good. Gotta be nice out there, Anyway, the court ruled against the dad.
Right.
The court said they had the power to make the decision. The decision they made was reasonable. And one more thing, in a situation like this one, as long as the applicant has knowledge of the reasons for the sanction, like he was told why he was suspended, and he was given an opportunity to be heard by the decision maker, the requirements of procedural fairness would be satisfied. So he had a chance to state his case. Mm-hmm. He admitted to doing what he did. He apologized. The apology was accepted, I suppose, but the sanction was imposed in any event, and the court said, Paul Mike and the North York Hockey Association had every right to ban Jordan Milberg from the games of his team for the remainder of the regular season. An 11-year-old kid, hopefully, was already in the dressing room by this point, putting his stuff on, and didn't have to hear that. And it's none of my business what he hears at home, but if he's going to use words like that, and I can't say them, but you can look it up.
Well, maybe link to the article or something.
Yeah, there's a Milberg versus North York Hockey Association, so maybe down on the...
I have a question.
Okay.
Unrelated to what happened. Why is there a fee to watch a minor hockey game?
Well, it's elite hockey.
It's elite 11-year-old hockey.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's elite.
Okay.
Yeah, a select hockey team. So I think that's what they call select. Probably to raise money for the team or maybe for the association. Maybe it's really good hockey.
Maybe it is. Just curious.
When you were 11, you played really good hockey.
Did I?
I think so. You wore number 11. You're always 11. You were 11 the whole time. There it is.
Heck yeah.
Now I have some questions for you. you might not be able to remember specifically when you were 11, but in your formative years, when you're playing minor hockey, there were parents in the stands. I was one of them, sometimes. What are your recollections of my behavior or the behavior of other parents and family members when you were playing?
You were always very respectful. I don't remember any time that you engaged in any verbal, I don't know the right word, verbal terrorism, I guess maybe.
Well, that's good.
Against anyone on our side or any other side, so
Good.
it's good.
I don't think so either, but, you know, memories can fade, right?
The only time I remember as a player looking up at the stands and being frustrated, and I know that there's other times and there's stuff happening, it's foggy, so I can't really talk about it, but the one specific time that got me frustrated was when, I'll say his name, Kenny was our goaltender, and his father would stand right in the corner, like along the glass, right on the goal line of where Kenny was playing net. And he would yell things at him, and he would just like death stare him, because he was a man of the military. He was a very hard-nosed person. He didn't take lightly to failure or anything like that. He was
pretty strict
standards and stuff. So he was pretty hard on Kenny. I remember that. And Kenny had a lot of confidence issues in net because of it, because he didn't want to let his dad down. And I thought that was a really crappy thing to do as a father, like to do that to your kid, because it wasn't like we were playing insanely competitive hockey or anything like that. I mean, we played competitive a couple of years and some stuff, but I just didn't get the pressure on Kenny. It's not needed.
See, I wouldn't have seen that because I would be more located at center ice, or maybe even behind the bench. A lot of the years you played hockey, I was just like the door guy for the defenseman or something.
Door guy.
Well, I wasn't coaching anything.
You're the water boy.
I was the water boy, yeah. But whatever was going on, you'd hear it because you're out on the ice. You're down there on that end. You're taking face-offs or whatever. So he's right there. You're probably hearing every word.
I remember having conversations with Kenny and other players on the team having conversations with Kenny. Just like ignore your dad. Like, don't listen to him. Ignore him, because that's how bad it was.
It's pretty hard to do. Yeah, that's right.
And he would complain about it like in the dressing room and after and stuff. And and like when his dad came in the dressing room, Kenny wouldn't talk. So I felt pretty bad for him. And he was good. He was a good goalie too. So.
Yeah. So if you're a player, and you might still be a player, or if you're a parent, I was a player once with a hockey dad, and you were a player for quite a while with a hockey dad, and you someday, you may be a hockey dad. Who knows?
Ever since you asked me the question about future females in that house video, I've gotten so many people use the hashtag get Neil married.
make Brent a hockey granddad. Right?
Yeah. You want grandchildren, don't you?
I wouldn't mind. Grandchildren, it's great. Way better than children, because grandchildren, you can play with them, and then when they start getting messy and stuff, you just hand them back. So you don't have to deal with all the other stuff.
I'll do my best to make it happen, but we live on an island with like 5 other people, so...
Well, do your best to make it happen. I don't mean that you should go out to the bars tonight.
No, I didn't mean like that.
Try that hard, okay? Just,
This is getting really off topic.
There still needs to be an organized event here.
An organized event.
Well, organized like... whatever.
I get you.
Yeah, you get me. So if you're a hockey kid, a hockey player, and your parents maybe get a little too agitated at games and get worked up, say things they shouldn't say to the refs, to the opposing players, or maybe even to you, I don't know what you do about that necessarily, but if you leave this video on when they're walking by, who knows?
Do you remember any other instance? Well, I just vaguely remember, not specifically you, but maybe other parents trying to calm down a parent on our team, saying stuff to another kid on the team or another parent or something. I can't remember who it was. I can't remember whose dad it was.
I don't necessarily.
I almost remember them being restrained.
Oh, really?
I have no idea who it was. I really can't remember.
People get so worked up. I had great faith in you being out on the ice and knowing what to do, knowing how to handle yourself. There was a couple of times when, that one time you charged down the ice because you'd gotten whacked in the back of the legs or whatever.
That friggin' noob deserved it.
I wasn't upset about that or about any other time, because you hardly ever took a penalty. If they had a Lady Byng trophy for the time you played minor hockey, and you did get the more sportsmanlike player trophy several times when you played, because you were very non-confrontational. But occasionally,
It was only ever in retaliation. Only ever in
Oh yeah,
retaliation.
yeah. And when I say occasionally, I said like once every 3 years. Did you ever,
Well, it's mainly due. I
Retaliate
was smaller
in
than
any-
everyone else.
Yeah.
So I couldn't really, like when we played checking, there were guys that I could have checked, but I would have just bounced off and hurt
Yeah.
myself. So
You just
why not?
go between their legs and keep going?
And
That's what you
yeah,
do.
that's what I did. I was small and fast, so it was great. But
Yeah. But I just hope that whatever your hockey experience is, if you're a player or if you go to watch even little guys and gals play hockey, I hope that you do what you need to do to make the rink or the arena a safe place for them and a welcoming place for them and a place where they can have a good time.
yeah, there shouldn't be any of that stuff. And you see like
None of this stuff.
parent fights and stuff in the stands and stuff like that shouldn't happen. But if it does happen, please film it and upload it to YouTube so I can watch it because I find it very entertaining. Even though it shouldn't happen, I admit I've searched it on YouTube. I like when fans fight. So
Well, just all that goodwill I tried to
I
pump
know.
up here.
I'm sorry,
just
I'm not really
down.
sending a good message here.
No, that's fine. Well, it's like everything. Drive safely, but we like to watch car accident YouTube videos. So,
There you go.
yeah, it's not just part of that.
There you go. Cool. Well, thanks for sharing the story. If you guys are still watching this video for whatever reason, thank you very much. If you liked it, hit the like button. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button. And we'll see you in the next one. Adios. Hand like this and I couldn't see you. I didn't know what you were doing.
Let's go.
Okay. Can I put that in as a blooper?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I don't care anymore. I have no pride left.